Good morning, everyone. It's really great to be here with you, and it's an honor to open this session called Bringing Innovation from Bench to Bed. I have to say that I love that title because it says exactly what we are trying to do. To turn science into care, to turn ideas into impact, to take innovation all the way from the lab bench to the patient's bedside. A few weeks ago, I met a startup in healthcare. 3 scientists, a small office, and a huge ambition. They developed an algorithm, AI-based, able to detect early signs of Alzheimer's disease from brain hemorrhage in patients. They showed me the difference before and after the algorithm, and it was stunning. You could literally see the difference. And I thought, this is not the future anymore, this is happening now. Then rapidly came the usual questions. How do we get access to the data? How do we navigate regulation? How do we convince hospitals to trust us? And of course, how do we raise money in these markets? I actually work with my firm InnOV and as early stage investors, and I work with lots of startups. And everywhere, every time, the questions are the same. Whether it's biotech or medtech, the challenges are remarkably similar. First, with the data. AI feeds on data, but access is uneven. You know, in Europe, it can be a little bit harder or longer to access data. In US, it can be easier. But in general, the real winners are those who find smart, ethical, collaborative way to access and use data. Second, regulation, a word that everybody knows. The rules are evolving, sometimes faster than we expect, but not fast enough for innovation. Third, funding. Let's be honest, actually, raising money is a little bit harder than it used to be a few years ago. Yet, ironically, the projects we see now, based on AI, are for most of them more mature, more clinically relevant than even before. And fourth, the market. How do you turn your technology into a business? Who's your first customer? Hospitals, pharma, device makers? Often it's all of them. And learning how to build those bridges is part of a challenge. Meanwhile, the world is moving very fast. For example, the FDA approved recently an Alzheimer's treatment based on brain imaging analyzed by AI algorithm, the same algorithm I was talking about just a few minutes ago. Think about that. It's a kind of new era where the line between research and real-world care are getting thinner every day. And that's exactly what From Bench to Bed is about. It's not just a process, it's a mindset. It's about collaboration. Startups bring courage and agility. Large companies bring scale, experience, and reach. When both work together, when curiosity meets structure, that's when magic can happen. And that's what we're gonna explore today. I'm truly delighted to have on stage 4 brilliant guests with us, 2 from major global companies, 2 from fast-growing startups, each with a unique perspective on this transformation. So let's dive in. Let's explore how AI in healthcare can go truly from bench to bed, from promise to patients. Reda, Guiha, you are the country president of Pfizer in France, a global biopharmaceutical leader developing innovative medicines and vaccines. Pfizer increasingly uses AI to accelerate drug discovery and collaborate large and wide to move with speed, effectiveness, and precision to bring innovation to patients faster. Reda, can you tell us what's the role of a large pharma player in today's innovation European ecosystem? I come with you.
Thank you. And what I'd like to do is to comment on your introduction. You talked a lot about AI, and I think AI, we're living now a renaissance when it comes to healthcare with AI. AI is actually revolutionizing, as you mentioned, Olivier, revolutionizing both preclinical work, the preclinical work we do in the lab, by identifying just one molecule among millions and dozens of millions of candidates. And it's accelerating in the clinical development, the clinical development programs, and it is gradually increasing the probability of success. So having this context in mind, I would say that our role as a big company within pharma is to bridge, to bridge together, I would say, startups, biotechs in our field, but also the public sector, and I would add also academia. And we do it through partnerships. So partnerships is basically our lifeline. You mentioned, Olivier, about how AI is moving very quickly. AI is moving from, completely transforming what we do from one month to the other. Just to give you an example, it's impossible for any company, even a company of our size, to process all the innovation that AI is bringing. And this is the reason why we are seeking new partners, reaching, I would say, researching very bold ideas. So to give you a very concrete example within Pfizer, when you look at our preclinical programs, thanks to the number of partnerships that we've had on a global level with AI-powered companies, we think we're going to reach a 25 to 30% improvement in our preclinical portfolio in 2025. Now, when you look at the overall value chain within my company, Pfizer, this year, in 2025, we are delivering around 735 million positive impact thanks to AI, and we are on our way to deliver $2 billion in 2026, and this is really by accelerating the adoption of AI. Now, this is on a global level. Let me give you some examples of how we are contributing to the ecosystem on the local market here in France. So just to give you some very, we have dozens and dozens of partnerships within the AI field. Just to mention in the preclinical setting. So we've been partnering with a number of companies, a number of startups. One of them is Edelris. Edelris is a biotech which is an expert in research. What we've done with Edelris, which, by the way, it's a French startup based in Lyon. What we've done with them is we are testing their 2 million candidates against biological targets. And this is thanks to the AI predictive model. This is how we can identify molecules in the preclinical setting and accelerate the process. And we do it in areas where there is a real unmet medical disease for patients. Another startup example is with Ictos. Ictos is a startup based in Paris, and it is an AI-driven startup that actually provides AI solutions for chemical synthesis, but above all, the design of molecules, the design of drugs. And we're using it on a global level in our labs for the, I would say, more for small molecules. We're also moving forward in clinical. We work a lot, and we're sponsoring biotech companies. One is Valneva, which is specialized in vaccines. And this company, basically, we are working with them on a phase 3 program, which is in Lyme disease. And it is accelerated through our digital tools that we're putting in place. One initiative that we're very proud of when it comes to AI is the Pfizer Healthcare Hub. This is a proprietary activity that we're doing. We're connecting biotechs and startups that are powered by AI in France, and we're connecting them to our scientists and to our experts with the objective in accelerating their health solutions, of course, and commercialization. And I'm going to end there. It's with regards to VCs. We invest a lot in VCs, but for disruptive programs, we're focusing on very disruptive programs we're not just putting capital. Last year we put $100 million, but it's not just capital. It's also giving access to expertise and connection to the pharma industry. So this is how we're contributing to the ecosystem.
Thank you, Reda. Peter Schardt, you're the CTO of Siemens Healthineers, a pioneer in AI-driven diagnostics. Siemens is a worldwide health technology company specialized in diagnostics, imaging, and connected care, and integrates AI into medical devices and hospital system to improve clinical decision making and patients' outcome. Peter, how do you engage with startups? Through open innovation, through partnerships, maybe acquisitions?
Yes, I think very similar to many other large global companies, we also run a dedicated startup program. Yeah, we call it a Shift Innovation Ecosystem to engage very early on. But before I get a little bit into the details, the one thing which we are not doing, we are not primarily a financial investor, yeah, to then exit again and just bet on the opportunities and make money. For us, it's very important that the solutions are complementary, right? So because healthcare, it's, I think, on the one hand side, a very specialized industry. Yeah, you have to go very deep in order to address a very specific problem. On the other hand side, you have to be able to address a very broad scale of customers and to make that very specific solution available. So it's all about large platforms, but integrating very dedicated solutions. And that's what we are going about, right? So we are looking for complementary gaps in our portfolio where startup companies have the right value proposition to exactly fill that gap. And then we team up very early on in terms of early research, clinical research, to also provide the regulatory pathway, and then really team up also in terms of regulatory approval, make it together. Ultimately, it typically ends up that we acquire it, right, the startup completely. So we would rather have a policy of black and white. Yeah. So we are not investing 10-20% and then see what happens. So we rather work for quite some time together and then say, oh, we are the right ones, and we team up. And from that end, I can only encourage also startup companies to early approach us, engage us, for example, in opportunities, maybe EU public funded grants or something like this, right? So because we also have to find our European way here, in contrast to the US or China, right? And I think in particular when it requires large amounts of data, we have to find our ways. And this is exactly maybe a good reason to now move also from small scale data sets, training a very specific algorithm, maybe with the help of ours to increase the access to data and from there scale up the solutions to become then also broader available. So multiple ways, but for us I think it's important to really team up early on, and therefore, as I said, we have a dedicated startup program. We are scouting proactively, but we're also looking for startup companies who are applicants in for example, public research grants.
Thank you, Peter. Grégoire Pigné, you are the CEO and co-founder of PulseLife, a digital health startup providing an AI-powered clinical decision support platform for physicians. PulseLife helps doctors access reliable, real-time medical knowledge to guide patient care. Grégoire, how do you balance agility with compliance and safety requirements? And what are the biggest barriers between proof of concept and real clinical adoption?
Hello, everyone. Today is a pivotal day. I'm proud to share the journey of PulseLife, a French scale-up that is launching today, now, the world's most secure AI-based medical chatbot. You know, for any startup, it's a race to market, a race to generate revenue. But every new compliance or safety requirement increase the need of cash, the need of time, and regulator we need your understanding. The more regulation there is, the larger the demand of cash, and the fewer innovative startup can survive here in Europe. So now let me tell about the core of PulseLife project, safety. Do you know AI chatbot can make mistakes sometimes? Imagine one AI chatbot is recommending 50 milligram per kilo for a critical drug when it should be 5. It's a life or death decision. So, when my team first told me we can create this AI, I just say no, it's impossible. Not unless we eliminate the hallucinations completely. It's too dangerous. But, however, agility is a powerful force in startup. And after several months, my team demonstrates that through chatbot, unlike ChatGPT or other generic models, prefer respond, I don't know. I haven't any information about that, rather than create an answer. Who chatbot doesn't hallucinate.
I don't know is a precious word when you do politics too. You know, maybe sometimes you have to say that. Okay, thank you, Grégoire. Nasheed, Jamal, you are the CMO of BIOSerenity, a French medtech company creating connected medical devices and telediagnostic platforms for neurology, cardiology, and sleep disorders. Its AI-driven solutions turn physiological data into actionable clinical insights. Nasheed, what do you most need from major industry partners like pharma companies, for example, and medtech giants? We have two of them here, to seamlessly validate and scale your solutions.
Thank you, Olivier. Without question, collaboration on clinical trials would be mutually beneficial for both BioSerenity and pharma companies, just as diagnosis and treatment are respective focal points are inextricably linked. You know, in this era of precision medicine, BioSerenity's AI-driven solutions can help pharmaceutical companies run clinical trials at all stages to help create therapies that are really tailored for individual patients. With our large brain model, our AI foundation model, we can help at the beginning, the middle, and the end of all clinical investigations. The beginning, our AI solutions can help triage patients into optimal diagnostic groups. The middle, our AI solutions are readily available. Therefore, electrophysiological data can actually be much more frequently analyzed to prove treatment efficacy. You know, AI can actually detect weak or subtle signals that the human eye cannot, thereby enabling early detection and even prediction of response to treatments. Therefore, with our AI algorithms, we can actually follow the neurophysiological reactions to the treatments, to the various dosages and the medications. The end. BioSerenity's AI solutions can help with phase 4 clinical trials or post-market launch surveillance to help pharmaceutical companies and medical device companies prove that their therapies actually work in the real world. So in sum, partnerships for clinical trials would help scale our solutions for neurodiagnostic clinical care. Thank you, Olivier.
Thank you. So we have maybe 11 minutes left for a small cross-discussion, if you do agree, my friends. Maybe a question for Reda and Nasheed to launch the cross-discussion. What would a truly integrated AI-driven ecosystem look like from early discovery through diagnosis and therapy?
Okay, so Olivier, I would say it's already happening today. I'll give you an example. Rare disease, the previous speaker who was here spoke about rare disease, and it's very interesting because there is an indication called transthyretin amyloidosis. And this is a cardiovascular rare disease indication that is often misdiagnosed as a very common congestive heart failure, which is not the case. So just by, we collaborated as a company with a startup, French startup. It's called BioQuantis, AI-driven startup. And we figured out with them through their, AI modeling, etc., AI-powered diagnostics that would allow cardiologists in a matter of seconds just to identify very clearly the indication. So this is just an example. Now, Nasheed talked about, the beginning, the middle, and the end. What I would say is the following, is imagine if we could implement on the pharma side AI and accelerate it. It's already happening, but accelerating and expanding it, preclinical, clinical diagnosis and treatment, and follow-up of patients, which is very important. By doing that, somehow you would have a fully integrated AI ecosystem that will change the way health is being delivered. So, how does this look in real life? I think we need to start with the current environment. And I think, Olivier, you had to deal this a lot as a former health minister, which is the budgets. Health budgets are not expandable, rising costs, and a shortage with physicians. And on the other hand, you get a renaissance when it comes to science with platforms, genomics, gene therapies coming in, serving patients, etc., biologicals. So how can you make sure that patients within this very constrained environment can have access to all these innovations and take advantage of them? I think the only way is a fundamental shift somehow. That will take some time. A fundamental shift moving from reactive to proactive treatment. Proactive and I would say also predictive treatment. And this should be powered by AI. There's so much data out there. And you mentioned data feeds AI. Yes, data feeds AI. And we need to take, to eliminate the regulations because there's so much data out there, specifically in France, by the way. Health data, lifestyle data. So in a way, if we can sort of analyze this data and through AI modeling, we can model individual health trajectories, anticipate the areas where there is risk for patients and delivering very personalized treatment for the future. So this is in a nutshell, I think, how it can happen.
Nasheed.
Thank you, Reda. I'll give another example. Let's take the ICU, which is a clinical setting in which AI can have potentially significant impact. Studies show that 34% of all IC patients should have continuous EEG, yet only 11% do. The reason is clear. The supply is much lower than the demand. We have a shortage of neurologists worldwide. The only solution is AI. AI algorithms can help augment the efficiency with which neurologists and ICU doctors can not only interpret EEGs and therefore give an accurate diagnosis, but they can also help ICU doctors and neurologists do risk stratification for prevention to help prevent the seizures and the encephalopathies for which these patients are at risk. And once you have risk stratification that leads to prevention, then you have fewer diagnoses. When you can diagnose, you can give treatment, and then AI can have to actually make sure that doctors give the optimal medications with the optimal dosages at the optimal time.
Being with you on stage today contributes to the shortage of neurologists. I'm sorry for that. Thank you. Peter, how can you align your different speeds? Innovation moves fast, we know. Healthcare moves slower.
Yeah, you're right. Healthcare moves slow. And maybe for also good reasons, because you want to really, with clinical trials, to provide really the evidence, right? And you for good reasons, there are regulatory hurdles up there, and ultimately to make money, you also need to find reimbursement, right? It takes some time. But I can tell you there is now an emerging reason where also AI moves much faster, and that is the staff shortage. You mentioned it already, the rising cost pressure. So ultimately it's a time now to also think about productivity as a methodology entering the healthcare domain. And that's what we are seeing. And we as a company, we have more than 100 AI products out there. The ones which are flying out of the shelves is the ones which are making the users, the professionals, more productive. Yeah, the tools which allow them to see twice the number of patients per day, right? that is now moving very fast. And therefore I believe it is important that we now also think about AI, not also, in terms of innovation, doing a much better job in treating the disease, but also making the system more productive in a good way, right? Therefore, I believe let's also focus on that, because many healthcare professionals will leave the system, right? And waiting times getting longer and longer. And that's our experience. Whatever we can do to reduce waiting times, to reduce demand for documentation and so on by AI, this is flying off the shelves. And many of these products, they sometimes do not even need regulatory approval, right? So there is, I think, a niche there which the demand will grow very fast.
Thank you, Peter. Grégoire, what's needed to make partnerships sustainable for a startup and your users?
The challenge is clear. Bringing AI into medicine. That's not just enough to build a good tool. We have to build trust. We start by responding to the big issues with the best product. But talk is cheap. Our quality was tested with Examen Classement National. It's the test for future medical doctors in France. And our AI ranked on the top of 2% of the best students in France. That is the standard of excellence we deliver. But we can change the world alone. And we work with the entire ecosystem. Two examples. First, we work with a group like Cerclopé, led by Pfizer, to positioning patients at the center of AI development and AI adoption. Last, but not least, institution. Do you know what APHP is? APHP is not just the biggest hospital in France. It's the biggest hospital cluster in all of Europe. And today, PulseLife and APHP are launching a massive and foundational partnership to ensure the highest level of security, trust, and adoption of PulseLife chatbot across France and across Europe. We are building a big partnership with the best player in every category, because together we will succeed.
Thank you, Grégoire. Maybe to conclude, because I assume most of the spectators here would like to know, maybe as startuppers, you could improve the way you could work with big pharma, for example, or big medtech. So maybe to conclude, and instead of wrapping up the debate, if you could, Reda, Peter, have a few words to give a last advice to the spectators here.
Sure. Two takeaways. The first one is scientific rigor. You need to have scientific rigor starting from the early phases of a project. And then this gradually will be, of course, supported with very solid data. So that's number one. Number two, it's, when working on a project in a startup, think long-term, but also scalability. Even though we have a partnership with a French startup, we think globally because we're a global company, and how to implement this, the outcome, the health solution of this project on a global level.
So my advice would be really to team up very early in the process and maybe leverage, for example, EU-funded IHI grants or so on to change, to make a change to a certain disease state, like stroke, cardiovascular, whatever. There is always the opportunity to find out whether our portfolios are complementary, at which we can then evolve together. So teaming up very early is the most important.
So thank you for joining me in this exercise. Thank you for the advice, for the testimony you allowed today, and good luck to both of you. And thank you to join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivier.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.